The massive hospital ship Mercy floated silently through space, its white hull gleaming under the distant starlight. Red crosses marked its sides, each one a kilometer wide, clearly visible from any direction. Captain James Miller stood on the bridge, watching as another transport shuttled wounded civilians to the ship's main medical bay. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but tired. The ship had been working nonstop for 3 weeks, treating casualties from both sides of the border conflict. "Medical Bay 7 just cleared another 100 beds, sir," Lieutenant Mary Parker reported from her station. "We're currently treating 12,000 patients, including 4,000 from the Centauri worlds and 3,000 from the outer colonies." Miller nodded, pride filling his chest. The Mercy was Earth's finest achievement, a ship dedicated purely to healing. Its 20 decks housed the most advanced medical facilities in known space. More importantly, it served everyone, regardless of species or allegiance. "Incoming message from the refugee camp on Proxima II," Parker announced. "They're requesting emergency evacuation for 300 burn victims." "Plot a course," Miller ordered. "And make sure." The ship's sensors screamed to life. 3 warships materialized from nowhere, their stealth systems dropping as they revealed themselves. Their angular black hulls stood in stark contrast to the Mercy's pristine white surface. "Sir," Parker's voice cracked with disbelief. "They're charging weapons." Miller's training kicked in. Broadcast on all frequencies. "This is the Mercy, a neutral hospital ship protected under Article 47 of the Galactic Convention. We carry wounded from all." The first shot struck before he could finish. Energy beams sliced through the Mercy's hull, deliberately targeting life support systems and medical bays. The ship had no shields. Hospital ships were forbidden to carry military-grade defenses. "Get everyone to the escape pods," Miller shouted over the ship-wide comm. "Medical staff, initiate emergency patient evacuation. This is not a drill." Dr. Alice Thompson and her team in Medical Bay 12 worked frantically to disconnect patients from life support systems. "Move those who can walk first," she ordered, helping a young alien child into a mobile stasis pod. "Priority on critical cases." Another blast rocked the ship. The ceiling collapsed in Medical Bay 8, killing hundreds instantly. Through the broken hull, escape pods launched in streams, carrying as many survivors as possible. But for every pod that escaped, dozens more people remained trapped. "Engine core breach imminent," the computer announced calmly. "Catastrophic failure in 5 minutes." Miller stood at his post, coordinating the evacuation until the end. "Lieutenant, send our final transmission to Earth Command. Include all sensor data." "Sir," Ushold. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Earth needs to know who did this." The attackers showed no mercy, methodically destroying escape pods and medical shuttles. Their weapons fire targeted with surgical precision, deliberately maximizing casualties. They knew exactly what they were doing. In Medical Bay 12, Dr. Thompson looked at the 30 critical patients still connected to life support. She couldn't move them in time. Tears streamed down her face as she injected each one with painkillers, ensuring their final moments would be peaceful. The ship's internal cameras recorded everything. They captured the heroism of medical staff who died protecting their patients. They showed alien doctors working alongside human nurses to save as many as they could. They documented the deliberate, calculated nature of the attack. 4 minutes after the first shot, the Mercy's engine core went critical. The massive ship, once a symbol of peace and cooperation, erupted in a ball of plasma. The explosion briefly outshone the nearby star. Of the 15,000 patients and crew aboard, fewer than 3,000 survived. The attacking ships disappeared back into stealth, leaving only destruction behind. 12 hours later, the first rescue ships arrived. They found debris scattered across 1,000,000 kilometers and recorded testimony from the survivors. Every story told the same truth. This was no accident, no misunderstanding. This was a deliberate attack on a clearly marked hospital ship. In the ashes of the Mercy, humanity's long-held policy of peace would also burn. The response, when it came, would reshape the galaxy's understanding of human nature forever. The Earth Security Council chamber had never been so quiet. 12 screens showed the attack on the UEH Mercy from different angles, playing on a loop. The counselors watched in silence as the hospital ship exploded again and again. Admiral Emma Thompson stood at the center of the room, her white uniform pristine, but her eyes red from lack of sleep. She hadn't rested since the attack 48 hours ago. "The evidence is clear," she said, her voice steady. "The attackers knew exactly what they were targeting. Our recovery teams found this in the debris field." She pressed a button, and a new image appeared. It showed the wreckage of an alien targeting computer, its screen still displaying the Mercy's medical bay layouts. "They had our complete ship schematics," Thompson continued. "They knew where the patients were. They aimed for the medical bays first." Council President Michael Banks leaned forward. "Could this have been pirates? Raiders?" "No, sir." Thompson's response was immediate. "The attack ships used military-grade stealth technology. Our analysis confirms they belong to the Centauri Defense Force, specifically their Special Operations Division." The chamber erupted in angry whispers. The Centauri were supposed to be allies. They had their own people on that ship. "What about survivors?" asked Counselor David West, his voice shaking. His grandson had been a nurse on the Mercy. 2,847 survivors out of 15,000. Thompson replied softly, "including 742 Centauri civilians. Their own people, Mr. Counselor. They killed their own wounded." The room fell silent again. On the screens, escape pods burst like tiny stars. "They believed we were weak," Thompson said, breaking the silence. "They saw our dedication to peace as a weakness. Our hospital ships, our humanitarian missions, our trade agreements, all of it convinced them we were soft, defenseless." She paused, looking each council member in the eye. "It's time to show them how wrong they are." President Banks stood slowly. "Admiral Thompson, are you suggesting we activate Protocol Nemesis?" "Yes, sir. It's time." The whispers grew louder. Protocol Nemesis had existed for 50 years, but no one had ever seriously considered using it. It would change everything. "Computer," Banks called out, "display the current status of Earth's hidden war fleet." The screens changed. They showed massive underground shipyards on Mars, carved deep into the planet's core, orbital factories around Jupiter's moons, disguised as mining operations, Titan's frozen surface, hiding armies of combat robots and automated weapons platforms. "While we built hospitals," Thompson explained, "we also built warships. While we sent doctors, we trained soldiers. Every act of peace was matched with preparation for war. Not because we wanted it, but because we knew this day might come." She pressed another button. The screen showed ships, thousands of them. Sleek destroyers, massive carriers, advanced stealth cruisers. Each one carried weapons that had never been used in actual combat. Technology that no one knew Earth possessed. "The fleet is ready," Thompson said. 5,000 ships, fully crewed and armed. We can launch within 24 hours. Banks looked at his fellow council members. "This will change everything. Once we reveal our true military strength, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see Earth the same way again." "They killed our doctors," Counselor West said, standing. "They murdered patients in their beds. I say we show them why humans have survived every threat in our history." One by one, the council members stood. The vote was unanimous. President Banks turned to Admiral Thompson. "You have your orders, Admiral. Launch the fleet. Find the ones responsible. Show them that humanity's patience has limits." Thompson saluted. "Yes, sir. And sir, we found something else in the wreckage." The Mercy's final transmission included coordinates, the attackers' home base. They thought they destroyed all the evidence. They were wrong. Then that's where you'll start, Banks said. Dismissed, Admiral. And Emma. He looked at the screens one last time. Make them remember this day. As Thompson left the chamber, alerts were already going out across the solar system. Deep in their hidden bases, soldiers and crews who had trained for years in secret began powering up their ships. The time for hiding was over. Humanity was going to war. Deep beneath the red sands of Mars, something massive was waking up. Miles of underground tunnels lit up for the first time in decades as massive fusion reactors hummed to life. In the largest chamber, Dr. Robert Wilson watched as his life's work powered up. Begin final system check, he ordered, his voice echoing through the vast underground shipyard. Around him, hundreds of engineers rushed between monitoring stations. Above them, suspended in massive construction cradles, 50 warships waited. Shield systems at full power, reported lead engineer Kate Brown. She had helped design these ships in secret for 15 years. Dr. Wilson, the new quantum barriers are stable across all vessels. Wilson nodded, touching the screen that showed his greatest creation, the Aegis Shield system. While the public thought Earth was developing better hospital ships, his team had perfected defensive technology that made their warships nearly invincible. Launch sequence starting in Titan Base 1, another engineer called out. On the main screen, live feeds showed similar scenes playing out across the solar system. Under Titan's icy surface, robot factories activated. In Jupiter's shadow, hidden shipyards revealed themselves. Fleet Admiral Thomas Anderson walked into the control room, his presence immediately drawing everyone's attention. At 60 years old, he had spent half his life preparing for this moment. "Dr. Wilson," he said, nodding to the scientist, "are my ships ready?" "Yes, Admiral. Would you like to see what they can really do?" The two men walked to a private viewing chamber. Through its armored windows, they could see the first ship being prepared for launch. The UES Retribution was a destroyer, but unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Standard scans will show a simple transport ship, Wilson explained, bringing up the vessel's specifications. But that's just its outer shell. The real ship. He pressed a button. Layers of holographic images appeared, showing the destroyer's true nature. Quantum cannons hidden behind innocent-looking cargo doors, energy weapons disguised as communication arrays, and most importantly, the revolutionary Aegis shield generators. "We have 50 ships here on Mars," Anderson said, studying the displays. 200 more on Titan. Another 100 scattered through the asteroid belt, plus all the automated defense platforms. He turned to Wilson. "Will it be enough?" "Admiral, one of these ships could take on their entire current fleet. We've had 50 years to prepare, to innovate, to perfect our weapons while they thought we were helpless." Wilson smiled grimly. "They have no idea what's coming." In the main chamber, the launch countdown began. Massive doors opened in the Martian surface, carefully hidden from orbital observation for decades. The Retribution's engines powered up, their blue glow reflecting off the chamber walls. "All ships report ready," Cave announced over the comm. "Awaiting your command, Admiral." Anderson took a deep breath. "Begin launch sequence. All ships, maintain stealth protocols until we clear the solar system." One by one, the ships rose from their underground berths. Their hulls, made of advanced metamaterials, absorbed all sensor scans. To any watching eyes, it would seem like nothing was happening on Mars' quiet surface. In space, more ships emerged. From Titan's ice caves, sleek cruisers rose like ghosts. The asteroid belt came alive as hidden bases activated. Across the solar system, humanity's real military strength revealed itself. On the Retribution's bridge, Anderson took his command chair. The ship's AI came online, its quantum processors ready for combat. Around him, crew members who had trained for years in secret simulations took their stations. "All ships, form up," he ordered. "Set course for the coordinates from the Mercy's final transmission. Today, we show them that humanity's peaceful nature was a choice, not a weakness." The fleet moved out, their engines leaving no trace in space. 500 ships, carrying the most advanced weapons ever created, disappeared into the darkness between stars. The arsenal of Earth was awake, and it was hungry for justice. The Centauri border station hung in space, its crew completely unaware of what was coming. Inside the command center, Base Commander Alex Reed stared at his sensor displays, seeing nothing unusual. That was exactly what Admiral Anderson wanted. Status report on the approaching ships. Reed asked his security chief. Just the usual traffic, sir. 3 merchant vessels requesting docking clearance. The merchant ships were actually the UES Retribution, Shadow, and Vengeance, 3 of Earth's most powerful destroyers. Their disguise systems worked perfectly, making them appear as harmless cargo vessels. On the Retribution's bridge, Anderson watched the station growing larger on his view screen. Time to target. 3 minutes, Admiral, his tactical officer replied. Their shields are down. They still haven't detected us. Anderson nodded. Remember, precision strikes only. We're here for the 3 ships that attacked the Mercy. No other targets. Deep scans had confirmed that the attacking vessels were docked at the station. Their crews probably thought they were safe, believing Earth too weak to strike this deep in Centauri space. 30 seconds to optimal range, the tactical officer announced. Quantum cannons charge. All ships, drop disguise on my mark. Anderson ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The transformation was instant. The merchant ships shifted, their hulls rippling as their true forms emerged. Weapon ports opened, targeting systems locked on. In the station's command center, alarms screamed to life. Sir, the security chief shouted. Those ships, they're not merchants. Before Reed could respond, the first shots were fired. The Retribution's quantum cannons struck with surgical precision, cutting through the docking clamps that held the 3 guilty ships. The Shadow and Vengeance fired next, their energy beams precisely targeted to disable the enemy vessel's engines and weapons. Message from the Earth ships. The communications officer called out, his voice shaking. They're ordering us to stand down and not interfere. Reed stared in shock at his screens. The Earth ships' power readings were off the scale. Their shields were like nothing he'd ever seen. One of them could probably destroy his entire station. Stand down, he ordered. All weapons offline. Do not engage. On the Retribution, Anderson watched as tractor beams locked onto the 3 disabled ships. These were the vessels that had attacked the Mercy. Their crews were about to learn the price of their actions. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting emergency signals from the enemy ships. They're trying to wipe their computer cores. Too late for that, Anderson replied. Dr. Wilson's quantum hackers are already inside their systems. We'll have everything. Orders, communications, chain of command. We'll know who gave the order to attack our hospital ship. The operation had taken less than 5 minutes. 3 of Earth's most advanced warships had penetrated deep into enemy space, captured their targets, and were ready to leave before the Centauri could even mount a response. Admiral, his communications officer called out, we're receiving multiple distress calls. Centauri warships are responding from nearby systems. Let them come, Anderson said calmly. Time they saw what they're really dealing with. The Retribution sensors detected 20 Centauri warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They approached in attack formation, weapons charge. Should we engage, sir? The tactical officer asked. No, show them our real shields. Let them waste their ammunition. The Centauri ships opened fire. Their most powerful weapons splashed harmlessly against the Aegis shields, not even causing a flicker in their power levels. Message to all Centauri vessels, Anderson ordered. Tell them, this was a precision response to a war crime. We took only the guilty ships, but if you force us to demonstrate our full capabilities, you will not enjoy the experience. The Earth ships turned, their engines powering up. Behind them, they towed the 3 captured vessels. proof that humanity's peaceful nature had been a choice, not a limitation. As they disappeared into FTL, Anderson sent one final message to Earth Command. Phase 1 complete. The galaxy now knows we're not defenseless. And this is just the beginning. The Centauri High Command was in chaos. On the main screen, hundreds of warships gathered for what they believed would be an easy victory over Earth. They had launched their largest attack fleet ever, 700 ships strong. This will teach them to stay in their place, High Commander Peter Marcus declared, watching his fleet approach Earth's solar system. They got lucky with their raid, but they can't stand against our full might. He didn't know he was walking into a trap. At the edge of the solar system, automated defense platforms hidden in the Kuiper Belt silently tracked the approaching fleet. These platforms had waited 50 years for this moment, disguised as simple ice chunks and space debris. On Mars Command, Dr. Wilson and Kate Brown monitored the incoming fleet. They're following the exact path we predicted, Kate said, smiling. Right into the killing zone. Wilson nodded. Alert Admiral Anderson. It's time to show them our real defense network. The Centauri fleet crossed Neptune's orbit, their commanders confident in their superior numbers. Their sensors showed nothing unusual, exactly as Earth's stealth systems intended. First wave entering final attack range, an officer reported to Marcus. No sign of Earth's fleet. They must be hiding behind their planet like cowards. Marcus smiled. All ships, prepare tow. He never finished the order. Suddenly, space itself seemed to come alive around his fleet. The debris they had ignored transformed into weapon platforms. Thousands of automated defense satellites dropped their stealth fields. What's happening? Marcus demanded as alarms blared across his flagship. Where did these come from? The answer came in the form of energy beams that sliced through his frontline ships like paper. The Kuiper Belt platforms opened fire first, their quantum weapons cutting off any retreat. Then Earth's real fleet revealed itself. 500 warships dropped their cloaking fields, already in perfect attack position around the trapped Centauri forces. The UES Retribution led the formation, its massive form dwarfing Marcus's flagship. Message from the Earth fleet, his communications officer announced, voice shaking. It's Admiral Anderson. Anderson's face appeared on their screens. You should have learned from our first demonstration, he said calmly. Want to surrender now, or should we continue showing you what we can really do? Marcus slammed his fist down. Never. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Show these humans what real warfare looks like. The Centauri fleet opened fire with everything they had. Their most powerful weapons splashed harmlessly against Earth's Aegis shields. Not a single human ship took any damage. Your weapons are obsolete. Anderson's voice came again. We've had 50 years to prepare while you thought we were weak. Last chance to surrender. Instead of answering, Marcus ordered his fleet to launch their supposedly unstoppable cosmic torpedoes, weapons that could destroy entire planets. Dr. Wilson watched from Mars as the torpedoes approached Earth's fleet. Activate the quantum nullifiers, he ordered. The torpedoes simply vanished, absorbed by technology the Centauri didn't even know was possible. Impossible, Marcus shouted. Those torpedoes can't be stopped. Anderson's fleet began their real attack. The Retribution's main gun fired a single shot, its quantum beam cutting Marcus's flagship in half lengthwise. Other Earth ships targeted engine and weapon systems with surgical precision, disabling but not destroying their targets. We don't need to kill you, Anderson transmitted to the remaining Centauri ships. We're not like you. We don't attack hospitals, but we will remove your ability to threaten anyone ever again. Within 20 minutes, the largest Centauri attack fleet ever assembled had been completely neutralized. 300 ships destroyed, 400 disabled and captured. Earth had suffered 0 casualties. As rescue ships approached the disabled Centauri vessels, Anderson sent a final message. Tell your leaders, this was just our defense grid. You haven't even seen our offensive capabilities yet. Think carefully about your next move. The galaxy was learning a harsh lesson. Humanity's peace had never been due to weakness. It had been a choice their enemies would regret testing. Dr. Wilson sat in his lab on Mars, studying the data recovered from the captured Centauri ships. Beside him, Kate Brown worked through encrypted messages, both of them searching for answers about the hospital ship attack. "I found something," Kate said suddenly, her eyes wide. "Look at this communication chain." Wilson leaned over, reading the decoded messages. His face darkened with each line. "We need to get this to Admiral Anderson immediately." On the UES Retribution, Anderson received the transmission while overseeing the processing of Centauri prisoners. The information made his blood run cold. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," he ordered. "And find Commander Reed from that border station. He needs to see this too." Hours later, key figures gathered virtually. Admiral Thompson and the Earth Security Council joined from Earth. Commander Reed represented the moderate Centauri faction. Anderson shared the discovery. The attack on the Mercy wasn't ordered by the Centauri government, he explained, displaying the decoded messages. It was planned by a radical group called the Purity Front. They've infiltrated both our societies. Reed's face showed shock and disgust. "The Purity Front. We've been trying to root them out for years. They believe all species should remain separate. No cooperation, no mixing of cultures." They saw the Mercy as a symbol of everything they hated. Thompson added, "A ship where different species worked together, helped each other. They couldn't allow that to continue." The evidence was clear. Messages showed Purity Front leaders had placed their people in key military positions. They had planned the attack for months, choosing the hospital ship specifically because it represented cooperation between species. "There's more," Wilson said, joining the call from Mars. Their next target was going to be the Interspecies Medical Academy on Alpha Centauri. They were planning to attack during the graduation ceremony. President Banks leaned forward in his chair. "Commander Reed, your people didn't know about this." "No, sir," Reed replied firmly. "The Centauri government would never authorize attacks on medical facilities. We've been infiltrated, just like they tried to infiltrate Earth's military." Anderson brought up more data. "We found their membership lists, hidden bases, supply lines, everything. They have people in positions of power throughout the galaxy. The hospital ship attack was meant to start a war between Earth and the Centauri, weakening both sides. Instead, they revealed our true strength," Thompson said. "And now we can use that strength precisely, targeting only those responsible." The council members studied the evidence. The Purity Front had nearly succeeded in starting a war that would have devastated both civilizations. Only Earth's measured response, disabled ships instead of destroyed ones, captured crews instead of killed ones, had prevented their plan from working. "Commander Reed," Banks addressed the Centauri officer, "will your government cooperate in removing these extremists from power?" "Absolutely," Reed replied. "They killed our own people on that hospital ship. Send us the evidence, and we'll help you hunt down every last one of them." Anderson nodded in approval. "Our fleet remains ready, but we'll stand down from full war footing. Dr. Wilson's technology can help identify more Purity Front agents hidden in both our societies." "And the public?" Thompson asked. "Do we tell them everything?" "The truth," Banks decided. "Both sides need to know who really killed those doctors and patients, and they need to know that we stopped a war by being stronger than our enemies, but more restrained in using that strength." The meeting ended with a new understanding. Earth's hidden fleet had served its purpose, not by fighting a war, but by preventing one. Its power had created an opportunity for justice rather than revenge. As the calls disconnected, Anderson looked out at the stars. The real victory wasn't in defeating the Centauri fleet. It was in finding the truth, and in showing that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons, but its wisdom in how to use them. 1 year after the attack on the UEH Mercy, survivors gathered at the newly built Memorial Plaza on Earth. A massive hologram of the destroyed hospital ship floated above them, its white hull gleaming just as it had in life. Captain James Miller, one of the few bridge crew survivors, stood at the podium. Behind him sat Admiral Anderson, Dr. Wilson, and representatives from 20 different species, including Commander Reed from the Centauri forces. "We gather today not just to remember those we lost," Miller began, his voice carrying across the silent crowd, "but to celebrate what their sacrifice helped create. A new era of true peace, built on understanding rather than fear." In the front row, Dr. Alice Thompson, who had survived Medical Bay 12, held the hand of a young Centauri child she had saved from the attack. The child's parents had been Purity Front leaders, now imprisoned for their crimes. She had adopted him, proving that love could overcome hate. "The Purity Front believed that different species couldn't live together," Miller continued. "They were wrong. On the Mercy, we proved that every day. And now we prove it again." Admiral Anderson stepped forward, joining Miller at the podium. "Earth's hidden fleet served its purpose," he announced, "not through destruction, but through prevention. Today, we transition from secrecy to openness." On screens around the plaza, images appeared showing the transformation of Earth's military facilities. The Mars shipyards now built both warships and hospital ships. The Titan bases trained multi-species defense forces. The advanced technology that had been kept hidden was being shared with trusted allies. "But we will not forget the lessons learned," Anderson added firmly. "Earth maintains its strength, not to threaten, but to prevent threats. Our fleet remains ready, our defense is strong. Peace through preparedness." Dr. Wilson stood next, activating a holographic display. "The Aegis Shield technology that protected our ships will now protect hospitals, schools, and civilian centers across the galaxy. What was created for war will serve peace." Commander Reed represented the reformed Centauri leadership. "The Purity Front tried to divide us," he said. "Instead, they brought us closer together. Joint patrols now guard hospital ships. Mixed crews serve on defense stations. We are stronger united than we ever were apart." The ceremony reached its peak as the names of the Mercy's dead were displayed. Human and alien together, doctors and patients, all equal in sacrifice. Above them, the hologram of the Mercy transformed, showing the design of its successor, the Unity, an even larger hospital ship that would carry on its mission. "The Unity launches next month," Miller announced. "I've been asked to command her. This time, she'll have the protection she needs, not just shields and escorts, but the commitment of every species to prevent such an attack from ever happening again." Dr. Thompson stood with her adopted son, joining the speakers. "On the Mercy, we didn't see species or politics. We saw people who needed help. That's what the Purity Front tried to destroy. That's what we're rebuilding, stronger than ever." The ceremony ended with a new tradition. As the sun set, thousands of medical ships across the galaxy, human and alien alike, activated their running lights in sequence. Earth's war fleet, now openly patrolling the space lanes, did the same. Light spread across the darkness of space, a demonstration that vigilance and compassion could coexist. Admiral Anderson watched from the podium as the lights spread. Earth had revealed its strength, but more importantly, it had shown wisdom in using that strength. The hospital ship attack had been meant to start a war. Instead, it had created something better, a peace protected not just by weapons, but by understanding. The Mercy was gone, but its legacy lived on. In its memory, humanity had found the perfect balance between power and peace, strength and mercy, readiness and restraint. The stars shone down on a galaxy forever changed, not by war, but by the choice to defend peace without sacrificing compassion.